Just want to say thank you to everyone in attendance for tonight's special meeting. Just a caveat, I respectfully requested that the representatives of the Cooley Frac Sand Mine and Carbo Ceramics not attend this meeting this evening. My intent was that to allow the residents to express their concerns to the appointees of the committee and also to the board freely and openly. They politely obliged with that and they understood. Once again, so tonight's meeting is a special information meeting where we will attempt to establish a ad hoc committee as was approved at the last month's meeting. A committee, an ad hoc committee of 5 members, true representation of the township. And I had sent out a email to the Wisconsin Towns Association in order to get some determination on eligibility of representation. The Wisconsin Towns Association's determination on August 10th of 2018. There is no requirement that appointments for committees are town residents. One that owns land near the site in question would have to abstain from serving due to conflict under state statutes 19.59. That being said, committees, if appointed, are advisory only. It is not possible for a chair-appointed committee to be delegated any of the governing body's legal authority. It was not the governing body that created the committee or assigned its duties. That being said, once again, if we have the selection committee, it will be chairman's appointment. And that being said, I had a number of people that were interested in being on the committee. And unfortunately, a number of those members are adjacent landowners or right directly to it. So that being said, I would like to know anyone that is available to be on this ad hoc committee, advisory only.
Excuse me, Pete,
Yes.
as one of those Jason owners, I'm not allowed. I would like to request that the Jason owners be allowed to appoint or nominate someone to represent us. And I know that she's already said that she's willing to do it. I am asking Kay Varsho to stand forward for the homeowners.
Me?
Yeah.
In order to form this committee, we would have to have 5. We would have to have 5 nominations, and like I said, true representatives of the township, all geographical areas. So we do have 1 nomination, if Kay would accept that. Sort of putting them on the spot, but this is why we're here. If we do not have, just as a yes, I'll go with Mr. Schmidt.
I just got a question. Could you define the definition of adjacent landowner? Miles? Is it, I guess, probably 1.25 miles? I guess I'm kind of curious on the definition, knowing whether we can...
It wouldn't be miles. It would not be miles. One that owns land near the site. Near the site in question
Right.
would have to abstain.
Why?
I got a question.
That's why, because the Wisconsin Towns Association, state legislature all feel that there would be biased opinions and it could be detrimental to both entities. Yes.
I live at the corner of V and Eisenhower. Am I too close?
V and Eisenhower,
Yeah, right there, on the corner.
you're within 1.5 mile apparently, near the, that's,
1.5, 1.6 miles from the site.
yeah. As far as it's because it's not adjacent, I believe that could possibly be yes.
I'd volunteer then to.
Yes. Mr. Erickson.
No, go ahead. Please, first.
Oh, thank you. I would like to volunteer.
Right?
I'm not adjacent and I'm not touching the property, so.
And I would like to.
You'd like to also? All right.
I think
Yes,
that
Mr.
Jim
Harris.
Schmidt is eligible to serve on this committee because it is not a commission. And we went through that with the email.
That's correct. And it is an ad hoc committee which needs to represent all entities of the town, true representation. At this point, we have 4 owners that are completely, we have 4 people that are all within 2 miles of the, at that point, it cannot be, it's still as a biased. Mr. Vensky.
I volunteer.
Mr. Vensky, 6 miles away, 5 miles away.
Pete?
Yes.
I would volunteer also.
So we have a number of volunteers. Do we have anyone on that would represent the opposite portion of the township? Once again, advisory only, no governing bodies. What you would be doing is hearing the concerns, gathering the facts, bringing them to the zoning commission with the recommendations. And it has to be done in a timely manner. That is the biggest parameter.
I just want to state for the record, I think anybody can serve on a committee. And there needs to be a clarification on that. It's not a commission. Whether you live adjacent to it, or you live a half a mile, or 3/4 of a mile, or a mile, anybody can serve on an ad hoc committee.
Yes, Mr. Cattenall.
Pete, I would agree with that. I guess I don't understand because the people living adjacent or within a half mile or mile are the people most directly affected by it. And those people are going to be excluded from the committee? That doesn't even make any sense to me at all.
Not excluded, but we cannot have to do the town justice and to do the corporation and the township justice. We have to have a true representation.
Okay.
We do have a number of residents that are 2 miles, 3 miles away. 2 there, 2.5. Yes, sir.
So then I would like to nominate Jim Schmidt as somebody who is within the boundaries to be on that committee.
I accept.
So, and we have, I know that Dave Cattenall said that he would be, that you would, are you still, you had said earlier.
I would have been eligible, I guess. I'm not sure. I'm within probably a half mile of the mine site. Does that make me eligible or no?
And that's the determination I've been trying to get from the Wisconsin Towns Association. It's because it's an ad hoc committee. So, that being said, yes,
Is there any way then that the people who are close to the mine site, who are so affected by it, is there any way that we can have input?
yes, through the variance and zoning hearings. Carver Ceramics and Cooley Frac Sand have applied for a conditional use permit. They've established the time frame or the parameters that they would like to have. Whether we have established a committee, an ad hoc committee, we still, as a town, must hold the zoning ordinance, the variance hearings, public hearings, and then it'd be for the zoning committee, and it needs to be brought to the board. So, public definitely will have their day, absolutely. And that is why, by establishing the committee, we can possibly not eliminate, but get a more round determination on the factors of this, if you understand what I mean. Yes.
As I understand, the committee is, like you were saying, non-biased, so we're just, the committee is to gather information from anybody in the town,
From
any
the
concerns,
township.
any concerns they have. They are not a deciding factor of this.
That is correct.
And I
that
just
is
wanted to
correct.
make sure I understood
Right.
that.
All they can do is make advisory and recommendations. Yes, Liz?
Can anybody on the board, on the ad hoc committee, be a part of any community organizations for or against the mine? if one happens to be brought up, if a community organization gets together, such as what's on that board right there,
Correct.
can a person on the ad hoc committee also be a part of a
Yes.
community organization?
Yes.
Okay.
However, board members cannot serve on the ad hoc committee due to the fact, or the zoning board members and board members cannot be on the committee, on the ad hoc committee, due to the fact that they make the final determinations. So, what do we have for a listing on those? We have Jim Schmidt was nominated. He will be the closest, I believe. That gives a rounded area. Kay Varsho, you're accepted.
Yes.
Deb?
Sandy?
Sandy, I'm sorry, Sandy. Sandy Golden will be appointed. We'll have, who other ones were nominated?
Dave volunteered.
Dave Vensky,
Yes.
Dave Vensky. And who else was nominated?
volunteered.
Jeff Hott? Jeff Hott, farmer close, not, do you have any land that's adjacent to it?
And Tim's cabin.
I will appoint Jeff Ott, do the representation as a farming community. We have our 5 members that have been appointed. Jim Schmidt, Dave Varsho, Sandy Golden, Dave Vensky, Jeff Ott. They will be your ad hoc committee members. You're tasked with a big decision. On that, once again, I said the committee is advisory only. Not possible for a chair-appointed committee to be delegated any of the governing body's legal authority, because it was not the governing body, the board, that created the committee and assigned its duties. We have, at this time, what I will do is, our board will step aside and we will have the advisory committee come up. This time we'll allow public comment. This is, once again, like I stated, they will not, they can't make any decisions. We'll allow public comment, but this is not the zoning hearing. This is not the variance hearing. This is a chance for the committee members and our board members to hear the concerns, plus, minus, towards this. This is an informational meeting for the township. Once again, when this is done, we'll have the advisory committee. They'll be in, I'll give them the contact information, and they will have, they're governed by the laws where they have to take minutes, and they will have to call, and all of their meetings will be publicly posted. The determination has to be done by the October meeting. As far as for the variance, yes, for the recommendations for the zoning committee. That being said, the zoning committee will have to be informed of the decision and the advice of the committee prior to September 26th or somewhere in there, so that I don't have the exact date, so that we can have the posting and the variance hearings and everything else prior to the final date for the conditional use permit application. That being said, yes.
May I ask who's on our zoning commission? Because when I read the, our zoning ordinance, it
Yes.
says that this goes, first of all, to our zoning authority person. He in turn passes it on to our zoning commission. Who is on our zoning commission?
Our zoning commission, our zoning board, Mr. Harry Wallace is our zoning commissioner. We have one member of the board, Darcy Kren, zoning commission, Jeff Minders, Bob Reed, and Cole Pankratz. That is our zoning commission. That is the zoning committee. They are the ones that will be making the final determinations, bringing their recommendations to the board. As you see, there was a park committee, I'm just going to go off the cuff here a little bit. We had a park committee, or a park function this past weekend, community event, and they had this up. They wanted it, just concerns and everything else of, and we've had a constituent that printed these up. These are concerns and information that they feel is relevant to anything that for the advisory committee. So we'll be giving those to them. If it pleases the board, I would like to just note that I spoke with the representatives from Cooley Frac Sand last week when I explained to them that we wanted to not have them here. They said that is fine. And like I said, they respectfully agreed to that. We'll have a public comment session tonight. Please, we'll state, if you want to give public comment at this point, state your name, your address, and we'll allow you 3 minutes to talk as per any other public comment session. When I was speaking with the owners of the frac mine, I mentioned to them that we've got a lot of constituents that have questions and concerns. I've fielded tons of phone calls. Noise, dust, a lot of concerns, a lot of concerns. Trust me, the board, everyone on the board has had those also. So I requested that, if possible, could we bring members of the advisory committee, number one, and also public, down to see their facility that is currently in operation in Maryland. They agreed. They said absolutely. They would love to see us there. We can't go on the site directly due to MSHA, the mining health regulations, but we will be able to observe it from 300 yards away, which is closer than any residence or any person will be throughout that system. That being said, Darcy's bus service, Darcy Kren, states that he would offer a bus for a bus trip to go and visit that. And if anyone from the public feels that that would be a welcome event to attend, I would like to see it happen, myself personally. So, if I could see a show of hands at this point. We had the sign up from last time, from the last meeting, of the attendees, and the attendees tonight would be given preference. Town residents would be the ones that are going, not every place else, but town residents. So if I could see a show of hands, if people think that that would be beneficial to tour. And it doesn't have to be just the advisory committee. It would be anyone that is curious about this. Please raise your hand.
Is there a cost to this, to the township or the residents?
There is no cost to the township. I spoke with them. There will be no cost to the township whatsoever. They have a dredge running at this mine, which they will shut down because it's nothing that they will have here. They will have everything except the dredge at their proposed site. That being said, you will be able to see their lighting capabilities, the noise factors, everything. And you'll see it from a short distance away. I've already toured the facility, and I will let you make your determination on it. Yes?
Is it okay to ask a question right now? I don't have
Yes.
comment. Now, is it even any kind of an option for the community to reject this mine? Or are we just putting parameters on the fact we're going to be?
To reject the mine, Wisconsin 2017 Act 67 really hit in the frac mine and all general use. Act 67 codified existing standards with established case laws governing conditional use. And it states, towns are required to grant conditional use permit if an applicant meets or agrees to all of the requirements and conditions specified in the town ordinance. Conditions on the request on request must be capable of being assessed on the basis of substantial evidence, factual, other than personal preference or speculation. Conditions and requirements for refusal must be reasonable and to the extent measurable. So, that being said, I'm going to be the most hated person in this township, but I feel that I need to say it. We are fortunate that we have zoning in this township. We can set parameters for operations that request conditional use permits. That's,
Why you hate it? I don't know.
yeah, excuse me, we can set parameters because of our zoning. We are zoned. We're able to set parameters. Conditional use permit, if they agree to meet everything, it needs to be granted. Yes.
Can you just clarify that on the zoning aspect, because they can only have, what they're required to meet zoning wise is what is already established right now, correct? So we can't change anything.
This is their proposal. We can revise it to the extent that is favorable for all. For all.
But we can't change any zoning requirements as of.
The zoning requirements have been set. They were instituted in 2011, revisited in 2016. That is when the county, the board accepted them, and the county approved them. They're registered on the state. Yes?
Two things real quick. We can still set ordinances that affect how they operate, correct?
Not ordinances. Not ordinances how they operate. The conditional use permit allows the entity that I'm going to say Cooley Frac Sand has issued their conditional use permit. Like I said in last week's meeting, their wish list. This is the greatest thing that they would like to see happen. This township, due to our zoning regulations and the variance hearings, we can make adjustments to this. Hours of operation, lighting, trucking. We can make, and also, we can also as a township benefit. They've already made one change. Yes, Jim.
I think there's a heck of a lot more questions out here than there are answers right now. And though I understand the motivation for not having them here, I'm disappointed they're not here because I had a number of questions for them specifically. Because me asking you questions or the board questions really doesn't do any good at this point. So I'm wondering, I'm wondering when we'll see them again, at what meeting, or is that up to us to call as a committee now that I'm a member of the committee?
Great.
Is it up to ask for that? And number two, is there an opportunity, because this group that's been established, or committee that's been established now, has a pretty tall order to go through 456 pages in about 50 days. So I'm wondering, is there an opportunity, based upon your conversation with the Towns Association, whether we have an opportunity to extend the deadline for this conditional use permit?
I do not know on the conditional use permit on the extension. However, I'll answer your second question first. Yes, it is a tall order, 456 pages. The advisory committee needs to concern themselves with, in this booklet, the introduction and the conditional use permit application. That is where they need to focus on. The rest of this is determined by EPA, the DNR, the county, the wetlands. This is their proposed reclamation plan for everything. For everything.
And I understand what you're saying, because in our own ordinance, in our Town of Rock zoning ordinance, it identifies primary and secondary conservation area. So what you're talking about is the primary conservation areas that we can't address, but we clearly can address the secondary conservation areas. Because in that secondary conservation areas, it identifies, like the third sentence here, residents in the town identify the natural environment as the primary reason for living here. Those are all factors, clearly keeping an open mind, looking at all the data and all the facts, and making sure we have facts that support our recommendation as a committee. But these are factors we have to identify as well. And we clearly looked at the entire document, and that being said, do we have some legal assistance as a committee or as members of the community to ask questions of, so we don't just get the mines representatives interpretation, and we have an opportunity to go someplace else as well.
Correct.
And it's a lot there, and I apologize, I didn't mean to bogart the meeting, but just questions that are clearly there.
No, that's a very good point. Legal representation, I talked with the Wisconsin Towns Association, I've been in contact with them. They can advise only. If the township decides that we need to have legal representation, then it will be at the town's expense. It cannot be recouped from any of the entities involved. It is town's expense. And that can get costly. That can get extremely costly. I'd like to just, before I go any further,
Wait, you didn't answer the other part of the question, and that is, do we have an extension?
that I do not know. I need to get the clarification on that. Yes, right.
And Pete, not only to ask the legal counsel clarification, but I would also ask, in the interest of seeing what level of cooperation we're going to get from the Cooley frac sand mining people, whether they would give us an extension without having to go through or incurring additional legal expenses for an extension.
Legally, we have to follow the recommendations set by the Towns Association. We can't just give a handshake proposal and say, we want to extend it. We have in our zoning ordinance that's approved 60 days from the time of the application. We can't ask Cooley Frac Sand for a extension until I receive a determination whether we can or not from the Wisconsin Towns Association attorneys.
Have you asked?
That being said, answer your first question, Mr. Schmidt. I apologize, my printer went out. Douglas Schmidt, Cooley Frac Sand, Managing Owner and Vice President of Operations. Pete and all, as I mentioned in my opening remarks at the Town of Rock meeting last week, Cooley Frac Sand and Carbo Ceramics need input from the residents of the Town of Rock as we finish our mining and reclamation plan. This last week, I have received overwhelming support for developing the reclaimed mine land into a Town of Rock park and recreational area. For now, I am calling this the Cooley Park Plan. The Cooley Park Plan goes beyond the current reclamation plan to fully develop a township park for the lasting benefit and enjoyment of all Town of Rock residents. We have started development of the Cooley Park Plan and have submitted a request to Carbo Ceramics to deed the entire park land over to the Town of Rock upon completion of mining. With input from the Town of Rock Board, ad hoc group, and residents, we will develop the Cooley Park Plan over the next few weeks. This plan will lay out park shelters, park roads, camping areas, boat ramps, parking areas, etc. The formal plan will be developed by Summit Enviro Solutions with support from the University of Minnesota Landscape Architecture Department. Along with the Cooley Park Plan, we will develop a construction budget and a maintenance budget. Cooley Frac Sand and Carbo Ceramics will fund these budgets through a 501c3 fund similar to the community funds managed by Encourage. Encourage is a Wood County nonprofit organization whose vision is a community that works well for all people. John Dustman from Summit Enviro Solutions, Kenny, and myself will be available to meet with you and the ad hoc group this coming week, either this Wednesday, August 22nd, or Thursday, August 23rd, whichever works best. Please let me know if either of these 2 days work for your group. Pete, please forward to the town board, ad hoc group, and interested residents. Best regards. Doug.
Did you say who the people were that were interested or said that would be a good idea?
No, he did not.
Does anybody in here have overwhelming support for that?
No.
So where did that come from? I mean, is it?
I personally, when I was talking with them, he said, he was on the phone as he was talking about this meeting, and he said, what can we do for the township? And I said, well, there's a bunch of things that the township could use. And I said, however, that being said, I said, the park at the end sounds great. But it would be very nice if the township, if you would deed it back to the township, if there was no further incurrence of any financial responsibility from the town. That being said, that's where he went to work on this. He's already talked with Amber Lightfight from the Marshfield Community Foundation. They've developed Hamas Park. And he's working with her closely to get this into fruition, to have campsites, parking, everything else on the delineated, yes.
So is it a township-run park or a county-run park?
Township, it would be deeded.
How is that not gonna incur costs at the end? It's gonna be ridiculous.
Through the through the nonprofit
To maintain a
money.
park costs a lot of money.
Absolutely. That's why they will establish the fund. They will establish the fund. The advisory committee,
For how long? How long is that fund gonna support that park?
if it's 15 years that they're in operation, I'm just spitballing. 15 years that they're in operation, who knows what they put in there? Parameters that could be set through the town, through the advisory committee, for every ton of sand that moves.
Upon completion of mining sounds like a very vague term. Sounds like something that they could.
They have a set plan, 15 years is what they have. They have a set plan, 15 years. At the end of it, and the thing is, they propose it, we get it in writing. The township gets it in writing, period. That this is it. This is what'll happen. And you hold them to it. They have to put money into a fund to start this.
Considering they're still a company in 15 years. Because these people are very manipulative. What they do is, they take their money, they start another company, and they put it there, and then they declare bankruptcy. I've traveled all around Montana and talked to communities when I was in school at the University of Montana and talked to local residents. That is what they do. These are genius people and know exactly how to get around these things so that they don't have to spend money like this. I 100% guarantee that is what's going to happen.
And honestly,
I will take you to bank on that.
I'll shake your hand after the meeting.
Pete,
And honestly, yes.
who's going to monitor these people for where they try to bury the environmentally not safe byproducts of this mining?
DNR regulations, state regulations, EPA, MSHA. The mining industry is bigger than the town of Rock. It's bigger than the state of Wisconsin. It truly is. Federal government, it's all federally regulated. It's federal regulations. Air quality monitoring, EPA, noise monitoring. It is all federally regulated. And that's who they have to answer to. Like I said, we as...
On a daily basis, deregulated. And us residents are getting fewer and fewer rights as the industries get more and more power. And we are a perfect example of this.
Have you talked to any of the DNR people?
Excuse me?
Have you talked to any of the DNR?
I have not spoken with anyone from the DNR as far as Wood County plan at this point
I
goes.
talked to Brad Johnson 3 weeks ago. He said we should fight it. A couple of us went and talked with Tracy Arnold. She's a Wood County Land and Conservation person, and she stressed over and over, all they can deal with is the reclamation when it's done. There's nothing they can do on the day-to-day operation. And also Shane Wooker-Fenning, who is her supervisor, he told me those same words. They can't do anything about the day-to-day, and that's up to us. So if we're gonna blindly,
Not blindly.
well, we
Trust me.
don't, well, we need to not do that.
I'm going to...
We can't just say they're gonna take care of it, because they've told me
Absolutely.
they can't.
Absolutely.
You're saying they got it covered, they do not. Just so everybody's aware of that, they do not.
Maureen first, yes.
I'm tired to hear about the future at 15 years. I'm worried about the people who are here now, about their lungs, about their water, about their noise, their serenity, their work-life balance, and this is where we have our serenity. And so I hear what you're saying about, you know, who's going to be watching this, who's going to be watching this. I want this committee to put that in writing, and I want them to agree. Watchdog, someone's going to be watching, not them, not us, third party. And so my question is to you, the work of the committee is on the recommendations, and those recommendations have to be agreed upon by Cooley
Within reason.
within reason.
Within reason. They
And
cannot,
that's the- and that
and
word
this
is,
must be reasonable and to the extent measurable.
Who decides that?
who decides that? Within
Was-
reason.
Who decides within reason? Everyone here. Do you know what you're doing tomorrow? Do you know what you're doing in 10 years?
90%, yes.
We all have our long-term goals, yes.
Absolutely. You still have to look towards the future. You have to take care of today, but you have to look towards the future.
My
That's
future better
kind
not
of
be
what we're
lung
looking at it,
cancer.
because if my future says I'm retiring in 10 years and I want to move to Florida, being 1.5 miles, 1.6 miles from this place, what happens to the property value, you know, when the realtor drives by this huge mine, you know, to me, to my neighbors?
And that's what you put, that's what you have the advisory committee place in the conditional use. Liz, you are next.
Okay, I have two things. One thing, just for the advisory committee, I want to let you know I have some phone calls in to some Wisconsin environmental nonprofit groups who have access to some pro bono lawyers, and so keep your fingers crossed. I will be in contact with you as soon as I get their final say. Also, you know, what the mining companies don't tell you is that frac sand mining is popping up so incredibly fast in Wisconsin that they cannot keep up with regulatory laws and regulations. They just can't. And they're being defunded on a yearly basis. So you have one person doing the job of 2 to 3 people, and they just can't keep up. Not to mention, silica dust that comes from this mining is not nearly as studied as it should be, and it effects, kind of like asbestos, take many years to determine, so to come into fruition. And so when you say that they're abiding by laws and regulations, that is BS, because they're not up to par with what they're doing. So that means nothing to me.
Jim.
I just got, I guess, a suggestion that we've heard the presentation by the Cooley's Frac Sand Mining Company. I would like to, as a committee member, and other committee members agree, that if we have the group that's identified up on the board, if there is an opportunity to make a presentation like we're getting bits and pieces of tonight, I think that would be extremely helpful to the committee, and I think to the residents of the town as well. Because to this point, we've only heard what the park is going to look like, and how wonderful this is going to be. To be objective, there needs to be, you know, certainly information publicly shared as well. And I guess I'd encourage us to provide that opportunity for that group of individuals.
And that is why I said, go down, look at the facility.
Well, and that's one part of it.
That's one part of it, absolutely. Correct, yes.
3 things. Number one, you said this would benefit the township. I just wanted, you mentioned something about having a park there, but what are the other benefits? second of all, how did we end up with zoning that allows this kind of mining in our township? And do we want to have that not be the future of our township? The other thing is, I'm really concerned about the water use and our wells. What's going to happen, maybe not be polluted, but maybe be depleted? And what's the study that we've seen that shows us that we're going to be able to keep getting water from our wells?
That was explained at the last meeting, and it will be explained further, trust me. They will do well monitoring, water monitoring, level monitoring at the site and further away. They'll do that. Please, finish your other question.
The zoning. can
Zoning? Zoning?
Future zoning not include allowing this kind of mining in our township?
If we did not have the zoning, the non-metallic zoning, we wouldn't have any say. There is already a sand pit in this township. Precedent has been set.
But,
That right there is a red flag.
but wait. It can be changed, it can be changed, it can be,
Exactly.
zoning can be amended.
Exactly.
It can be brought to the public referendum, voted upon, and it can be changed.
But not retroactively.
Correct.
No, but for the future.
Yeah,
so
that's-
to face this
For the
again.
future, yeah.
And the other question I had was, what is the benefit to the township besides this part of having this mine be
Looking to the future of the township.
here? Say more.
Looking to the future of the township. There is a possibility that the advisory committee could set a tariff, like I stated, a tax on every ton of sand that is extracted. That being said, that can be utilized for the township. You like driving on paved roads, or do you want to be on gravel? We're doing what we can. It's, it's, you know, I live on a gravel road. I'm in a township, and my road isn't even, it's not even patrolled by my township. So, yes, Kay, I'll be right to the back here.
You know, how beneficial are we to live out here? And as a committee member, somebody has got education to back us, and she is like a mile away. I nominate Liz Drexler to be on this committee. She has got the education to back us, to support us. Why would we not want her to have a voice?
I second that.
In order for Liz to be on, someone would have to step off the
I will
committee.
step off the committee.
The board,
No, Liz,
the
you
board
need to be on
stated
this
a
committee.
5-person committee.
Is that flexible?
That is what was discussed and appointed at last month's board meeting after this discussion.
Liz, you have got the education.
Can we not amend that?
No, you cannot. It was a board discussion,
No, Liz.
everything. It's minutes of the board meeting. Yes,
See,
Sam.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I honestly don't know. I couldn't find it anymore. What is the Town of Rock mission statement?
What is the town of Rockwell, I'm sorry?
Mission statement.
Mission statement?
Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I honestly couldn't find it anywhere.
I don't believe the town, I don't know if we truly have a mission statement. We have statements that are at the beginning of the, on the zoning ordinance that Mr. Nelson read last week, but the township just truly does not have a mission statement.
The purpose, we already did.
They have a purpose.
Can I read the purpose? To promote health, safety, aesthetics, comfort, prosperity, and general welfare of the town of Rock. That's the purpose of the ordinance. Pete, I would really like to address this. I really feel I will step off if Liz Drexler can be on this
It would be really
committee.
beneficial to be on.
Is there anybody else that would step off this committee?
Sandy Golden?
Are you sure?
I will allow it. Sandy Golden is removed. Liz Drexler, once again, the task is at hand. Remember, non-biased, factual. Please. Yes, Gary, I'll get to you next.
Okay, just a point for the committee. I've been to and inside the the mine over by the campsite that they were talking about the other day. And I got a couple concerns. One is the truck staging, because out there they stage on the roadway. We can't have staging on V. They have, if this goes through, they have to cut enough area to stage at least 7 to 10 trucks at any given time.
That's all in their plan, it truly is.
Again, that's why I said I didn't see it. The second one is the amount of trucks daily. Okay, with all the carriers that they're going to be contracting to and so forth, is that we're going to have tremendous amount of trucks on V Street. And then not just Sunday, but full weekend stops. You know, I'd like to enjoy my weekend without hearing the noise.
And on this paper, it was all, Mr. Eric Nelson typed it up, all of the recommendations and the concerns that we're going to give the advisory committee.
But
And
again, this is
yes.
for us to put points to the
Absolutely.
committee. You know, so I mean, as I said, I've been to that particular inside that particular mine, and it's not what you think. I mean, it's really not. So it is a lot of concerns.
So, Mr. Varsher, you had your hand up.
I understand most of this tonight, but my question is this. Do you know the route, Pete, that they're taking? Do you know the route, the truck routes at all? Do we know the truck routes?
The truck routes?
That they're planning on?
It'd be V to Highway 10. That's all established in their plan.
V to Highway 10.
That's all established in their
Return route on
plan.
N though, correct?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Isn't there a return route for trucks on N?
No.
Yeah, he did mention.
He mentioned possible, but I haven't found it in there. So that's all in there, correct.
Yeah, he did mention last time we met that they could, you know, possibly redirect the trucks up to N and up
Possible.
that way.
But V to 10 is the proposed route of travel. Yes, ma'am.
I live near the corner of V and N, and we already have line trucks that engine brake to the stop, the turn there, and we need a sign that says don't do that because it's completely disruptive and a very bad sound.
Absolutely. The list that was given to me, that's one of the points here, is that engine brakes, Jake brakes, white noise alarms. It's, like I said, they've, in their conditional use permit, they've put their application, their wish list, 4 pages. It's the advisory committee and the zoning board and the people to tweak it, make it work for the town. For the town. Make it work for the town. That's what I'm asking.
I have a question. I'm just curious, who holds their feet to the fire on some of these laws? I mean, I've been on the internet and I've been researching a lot about the fracking, what's been going on and stuff. And I agree with a lot of these people here. They're being pretty open-minded about saying what they think it's going to be beneficial. What about the kids in this community that we have? You have young kids on Highway V. I mean, there's one on the corner of V and 10. They have 2 little kids that get on school buses. They say they're not going to run during certain hours, but when I've been doing researching, they run all the time. And we're going to have busy people. I mean, that V is going to be terrible. I'm just concerned about a lot of things. Kids, health issues. I have lung issues. I've heard about water situations. Just curious as who watches exactly and how close they watch, what they do.
Like I've stated, state, DNR, so they're regulated. They are regulated. Watching, I can't attest to that. They must follow regulations. If they don't, their permit gets pulled. That's it.
Enforce their permit.
Excuse me?
That's the question that's on the floor right now. Who's going to enforce the permit?
They hold the permit, they won't.
I'm sorry.
Who's going to enforce that permit? If we come to an agreement with Cooley, with our demands, their wish list, our wish list,
Right.
we come to agreement, who's going to enforce that?
Signed, sealed, and delivered. It's registered with the county. It's registered with the state. It's registered with the Towns Association. Signed, sealed, and delivered. No different than if you purchase something and you sign the contract, you're liable for it. If you do anything, you sign a contract, you're liable for it. You fail on that contract, you're liable.
But do we have citation authority in the town of Rock?
No, if you read our zoning, everything's in the zoning. All these questions are all answered in the zoning.
Absolutely.
As well as what the committee is going to use as criteria for determining if this conditional use permit is going to be granted. It's very simple. It's all laid out in black and white. And for termination, it says right here, if the town board determines that the development or use of the property does not comply with the necessary requirements and conditions for issuance of the conditional use permit, the town board by resolution may cancel that permit. So if it's found that they are non-compliant, we can pull their permit.
Cancel the permit.
The key to all of this is to be objective, look at the facts.
An open mind.
Keep an open mind about it. And if they don't meet the standards that we put forth in here, make sure that we have evidence.
Absolutely.
Because we are going to be taken to court.
But as a board, I really don't appreciate the continued reference to not being objective by this. I understand there's people with strong opinions and some pretty passionate opinions about this subject.
Sure.
But you've appointed a committee.
Correct.
I, for one, am going to be very objective. But please, as a board, it sounds like we didn't even need the mine here tonight. No. We got the mine here tonight.
No.
And I don't, that I don't appreciate.
And-
So let's all remain objective and look at the facts and the data to support whether we, as a whole township, want this mine or continue mines in the township. So I guess I'd ask us all to remain objective.
No,
and look at that.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you. Very, very well put. Thank you. Just, and like I stated at the last meeting, like I said, let the board represent you. Now, advisory committee, help represent the residents, represent the township. Bring the proper recommendations that will work or not work. Bring them to the zoning committee. There will be a variance hearing, there will be a zoning committee and a variance hearing that will be posted. But first, the advisory committee will need to meet. And that will be also an a published meeting, time for public comments, everything else. And that will be the advisory committee. It's up to you to set that as soon as possible. However, it will have to be posted and advised. And once again, public comment period will be welcome and necessary. Yes.
So my earlier question was, can we say no? And when I listen to you, I hear we just say how, but not no. Is that a correct assessment of the situation we're in, that we can't say no, but we can just try to put the guidelines around it? I mean, can we say, no, we don't want them on?
We can't just say no. That's what you want to hear? We cannot just say no.
I just want to know why.
Yeah.
Wait. We, again, go back to our zoning.
Absolutely.
They have to meet the standards. So the committee should
Yes,
judge.
but I mean, they, whether they meet the standards or not, it's not up to us to say yes or no. It's just yes, as long as you meet the standards. But there is no if they meet the standards. There is no answer if they meet the standards.
If they comply with everything that you guys as a committee come together as and present to them, if they say yes, we're fine with it, we have to issue them the permit. If they say no, we're not gonna go by your standards, then we can say no.
Correct.
They don't end up going to court, basically.
And the basic, really basically is if there's an environmental issue, dust control, and we're going to use that as an evidence that they're not going to comply with that environmental law, or we have to have evidence to say, here's our evidence as to why we know that this is bad for our environment here. Possibly the water use is over the amount, stuff like that. You need to have evidence. So if we just deny it out of the air, they will take us to court and they will win. So the committee is there to objectively look at everything, pros and cons. If there's a high negative impact to this, then let's cite some evidence. You have to have evidence for this, so when it goes to court, it can be held up. You know, the township can win this case. Otherwise, we're gonna spend thousands of dollars in legal fees to defend this. So, yeah, hundreds of thousands or whatever.
Yes, just one second. You had your hand up, sir.
So that way I understand this now, okay? So if you go, you got your zoning board, okay? And you got what, 5 people, right, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now when this all comes to the end, okay, to be voted on, yes or no? The way the zoning works, as far as I understand it, them 5 people can control this whole situation.
No, sir.
Why not? Because they're going to issue permit, okay?
Yes.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if they vote no, and you're going to do it anyway?
The advisory.
After all this is put together, everybody's got good things, okay? But when it comes down to them 5 people, they're the ones that are going to make the decision at the end, yes or no, right?
No.
Okay, why?
Because
why
it's
is it
an
even-
advisory position. They gather information, bring it to our zoning board.
Okay, I understand that.
The
Okay,
zoning board-
is there 5 people that make the final decision?
Correct.
So let's say let's say I live within, let's say I want to start a strip joint there. Let's just say, okay, I come to the town board, and they say, not me.
You can't. It's specific.
It's not me. It's not me. Anyway, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway.
I understand.
I
was trying to make
I go to them 5 board, them people in that board, and they say, you can't do that. Okay, I can't do it. Then you gotta go to appeals thing, right?
Correct.
Okay, why don't this work the same way as that?
It does. If the advisory makes, that's what, the advisory committee is appointed by the chairman. They have no governing powers. Advisory only. Bring recommendations from the town, from the residents, to the zoning board. The zoning board, the 5 members of that zoning board must also hear, not just from the advisory commission, during the public hearings, they have to hear all of everything. From both entities.
I understand that. Okay, I understand, but.
So the
I'm
zoning
trying to say,
board-
all these people, nobody here wants this thing, okay? So all these people go to these 5 people, so we don't want you passing this. So they say, no, we don't want it here. So what's the money coming to take us to court then?
Well, what's the evidence? Give me your evidence.
What do you
Well,
mean?
no, I'm just
What
saying
do you
this.
mean, evidence?
From a
Evidence. Why are you saying no? You're saying that they come up and say no.
From a legal perspective, what is the evidence?
I'm gonna.
Now and in the future.
What I'm trying to say is the zoning, the 5 people at the end, they make the final decision. Yes or no? Okay.
Zoning board makes the recommendation to the town board.
I mean, the zoning, at the end, the zoning people, the ones that are, I'm trying to
We're
explain
going,
this. I'm
we're
not sure
going
if I'm
by
explaining it
the
right.
county's regulation for zoning. We already have a mind that
The
set
county,
precedents.
the county is.
And the county does it by the state as to what needs to be done. This has all been done way before this. We can't change what's been put forth already.
So basically,
All we can do is put conditions on this conditional.
so basically,
permit.
we're gonna get in mind no matter what.
No, that's not true. That's not
That's
true.
exactly.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Big that is not true.
I'm under the impression that the 5 zoning people, they make the yes or no. Once it says no, then they're done. Then they have to come back and appeal it because they got voted out. So they have to come back and appeal it. The same company has to come back and appeal it because they got voted no.
Then they have to file an appeal. The appeals doesn't go back to zoning. The appeal goes to county level per statutes. Then the appeal goes from the county to the state to the Supreme Court. I just heard that from the WTL lawyer today.
No matter what anyway.
Just heard it from the WTL lawyer today. Yes.
If we weren't zoned, what would happen?
If we were not zoned, that mine would be operating 2 weeks ago. If we were not zoned.
We're lucky we're zoned.
They would have walked in here, done.
So if we're zoned, we can say you can't come in, that's it then.
No.
But we have to have a reason. Oh, legal. Okay, there's 850 people in this township. How many people?
Order. Please. Tensions are high. We understand that. We need to remain some order.
We gotta keep an open mind, folks. You guys, you really, we'll get the committee together, let's get everyone together that's concerned about this. Take and view the pit that they're operating already. You gotta keep in mind, that's not the same kind of pit in the sense that ours is gonna be a wet sand permit. We're not gonna have dust flying all over the place.
That's not true.
They put water on it. They put water on it, basically.
That's why we have the advisory committee. Mr.
How far do you
Vinsky.
live from that pit? From that proposed pit? I don't know, I don't even know who you are.
I'm in the township, but I'm not next to it.
Well, how far do you live away from there?
Quite a ways.
6 miles.
Quite a ways.
I live 1 mile. I live 1 mile away from the.
I live a mile and a half away.
I live a mile away from the current pit. I have 5 pits within 1 mile of my house. One of them 1,500 feet.
But I got a concern.
I know exactly what everybody goes through. Trust me, I know. The biggest offender, I won't even tell you who it is. I won't even tell you who it is. Mr. Vinsky's had his hand raised. I'm going to announce him. We'll be cutting this short, not cutting it short. We're going, Mr. Vinsky, you've had your hands raised for quite some time.
I have a question about the ad hoc committee or the zoning committees, or basically the ad hoc committee. You're looking for recommendations, some insight as to what's going on. I'm wondering how much of an effect is any regulations or any ordinances that we put against this mine will have on future mines, not necessarily sand. I mean, we have got granite quarries in the town. We've got small, individually owned sand pits where a business has a 40-acre piece and he has a sand pit on it. What regulations, or how are these regulations going to affect these mines or any future mines of that sort?
To answer those questions, if it's an operating mine, operating gravel pit at this point, if they opened after 2016, they are not subject to any of the ordinances. Anything that is new that comes into this township falls under the ordinances that were adopted in 2016. The other sand mine, that is the other sand pit that's here, had a conditional use permit. They need to reapply for, if they decide to reopen, there will have to be a reapplication process. That is the beauty, if you will, of the zoning. And like I said, if we didn't have the zoning, we wouldn't be here talking about this. We'd be talking, but it wouldn't be in this capacity. I'm going to allow 3 more questions. 3 more questions. Yes.
Yeah, I just asked that when we do go out to the mine, if you can go back to them, because 300 yards away is what you said that we would be allowed to be there, is too far away to identify any real concerns up close, because we're going to be up close to them for those of us that live there. Right. And 300 yards away doesn't allow us that, so.
You're going to be 300 yards away where we live?
No, but I'm going to be driving right by it, and I'm.
Absolutely. The advisory committee, 5 people, they can allow those people to go in. You will be allowed to go right down in there. MSHA will allow it. They will allow it. But we can't have 40 or 50 people in there. Safety precautions. They will allow the 5 people, and that's just because of their regulations. It'll be 3 and 2, or 2 and 3, because they can't take that many people in. But the advisory committee will have a first-hand look at everything.
So can I have a follow-up? I have my NSHAR qualifications to be on that site. Can I go with them? I have my qualifications to get into any mining pit in Wisconsin.
That I will have. If you've got the qualification card, I cannot see why it would not be. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, Mr. Nelson, 2 more questions, and then we'll.
Hi, I'm Eric Nelson, and at the Lindsay picnic we collected
comments and concerns from citizens who showed up. And so I took time to type them out, and I'd like to read you just a little bit of what was said. There's over 5 pages of these for the people who have been selected to be the ad hoc committee. So to give you an idea of just some of the things the people came up with. And they all go to the numbers that address like your zoning ordinance. So that'll give you, we want to make it to be helpful so the board can make decisions from this information. So one of the things was to add visual screening on the southwest side to continue from where it is to the proposed current driveway that Cooley Frac had. Other screening to continue as delineated by the conditional use permit. So this gives you a little insight on what is on here. I'll continue with just a couple more because water is a big concern from what I heard today. The operation, Cooley Frac or whoever is working there, must be bonded for well damage 1.5 miles from the mine's boundaries for 15 years after reclamation. These are specific measurable goals. Operation shall pay for independent testing of private and public wells within 1 mile of the mine's boundary, including the school forest where all the students from the Marshfield school system go multiple times during the year. Off-site water tests shall be conducted by an independent private water testing company. The company is to be selected by the homeowner, testing to occur within 30 days of the homeowner's request. Operation provides all water immediately if a private well is no longer safe or providing adequate quantity, not as water bottles, but as a new well paid for by the operator for the homeowner. Because if you don't have a well, if you don't have safe water, you have nothing. Wells shall be tested 2 times a year for 15 years after final reclamation. Then once each year thereafter, with costs incurred picked up by the mine operator or water bond fund created by the mine. No high-capacity well shall be used on the property. And finally, underwater, no mining shall occur under the current, as of 2018 water table, or extracting of water below the water table, because we're all on this wonderful sand. It's apparently very important sand, but it is under our homes. So we have deep concern about this. So thank you for addressing me, and I'll be here to explain anything to any of the people who have volunteered or anybody in general. So thank you, citizens of Town of Rock.
These are important points. This is what your advisory committees, your ad hoc committee, this is what they're going to be addressing, compiling, bringing to the zoning, sitting down with the operators of Carbo and Cooley Frac. This is the important part. Yes.
Are all meetings from here on out, zoning or the town board public?
All meetings are public, absolutely.
There won't be any private meetings?
Excuse me?
There won't be any private meetings with the board and Cooley Frac?
There has not been any private meetings with the board and Cooley Frac.
I wasn't making accusations, I just wanted to make sure that,
I have been a contact for the board, and every contact that I've had has been in the public minutes. So, explaining everything. So there has been no, I want to make that clear, there has been no private meetings with Cooley Frac and the board.
and there won't be.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. We made that clear last week at the meeting. We told them, it has to be through the board or the zoning committee. Landowners have contacted them. I know they have, because they alert me. Cooley Frac called me and says, this one called me. That one called me. Thank you. Like I said, let your board, let your zoning committee represent you.
I don't want to take up one of those 3 questions, but I just want to know, in conjunction with his, are the ad hoc advisory committee meetings, will they be posted and will they be public?
Absolutely. All meetings will be posted. The agendas will be posted 48 hours. It won't be a 10-day notice. There will definitely be the 10-day notice for any zoning, anything related zoning. Anytime that there conveyance of any of the board, it will be a 10-day, it has to be a 10-day notice for any zoning or variance hearings. Absolutely, that has to be 10 days. But all other meetings need to be posted. Agenda items, 48 hours, minutes.
Do those postings go out on the emails that we get from the...
They can come out on the email blast. We have our postings at Chairman's Corner, on the door, Bell's General Store, Lindsay Bar.
And the website.
And the website. And the website.
I'm just curious how long the town of Brock has known about Cooley Frack wanting to come here, because we wouldn't have known as landowners if it wasn't for Adrian coming down and telling us. We had no idea what was
They
coming.
contacted me at the beginning of June, questioning.
Well, we were told by the DNR that they've been going through the permitting process for over a year.
That's the DNR. Town of Rock was the question, beginning of June.
But that's the question I had, is that in 2016, you knew that Cooley owned the Hanson property. So you knew that this was hanging by a thread.
Carbo owns it.
Well,
I've owned it for 7 years.
okay, so you knew that what was wanting to be happening with that, and that they just needed property around there to be able to begin with.
The Hanson family, Roger Hanson, sold his property. Sold his property to Carbo Ceramics. Can anyone regulate who you sell your property
That's not
to?
what I'm saying when we went through the zoning and the ordinance in 2016, thinking ahead.
Yeah, but you had a chance to come to the zoning hearing and voice your opinion. You know,
Right.
I mean, that's, you know.
For a sale of property?
No, I'm saying, when you did the zoning, we as citizens had a right, and we should have been here, to go over the zoning and make our.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm saying, you know, so it's like, and us who live around here knew that Roger had sold that land to a mining company 5-6 years ago already. So, I mean, it's been floating out there, and you knew almost that eventually this was going to come down to something. And I just say, thank God we do have what zoning we do have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I've stated before, and then I'm going to call this meeting. I moved into this township, and in 2011. I didn't know who my neighbors were. There's times when I wish I would have, but it's neither here nor there. We've got good neighbors. We want to continue to keep good neighbors. It's very important to the town. Be good neighbors, keep good neighbors. The sale of the Carbo Ceramics property was long before I was here, long before anyone on this board sat here. It was a property sale. No reason to raise any doubts, any hackles. Roger Hanson, from what I was told, sold his property. That's what I heard. I did not know that Carbo Ceramics owned it until probably about 5 years ago. And I thought, oh, well, something's going to happen here eventually, because they didn't purchase the property. A Houston-based oil company doesn't purchase 160 acres in Wood County, Wisconsin to rent it to a farm for soybeans. It just doesn't happen. So, that being said, yes, thankful we do have the zoning. We have some meat behind it.
Is that township zoned agricultural, or is it, or residential? How, I mean, because I know some townships are zoned specifically.
Town of Rock is general use. Town of Rock has no agricultural, it's general use.
I mean, I'm just stressed about the farmland being taken away, because I'm a farm person by heart, but, you know.
Assessment shows agricultural, assessment shows residential, but when it comes to zoning, Town of Rock is general use. That's so the only reason it shows it on your taxes are different is due to, that's how the county makes the assessments.
What would it take to have the zoning board reevaluate going forward how our township is? What happens? What happened in 2016?
To reevaluate the zoning?
What happened in 2016 that it got redone? What was the initiative?
The zoning in 2016 that was approved was set forth in 2011, and it was not properly recorded with the county. So the zoning board and members of the other members of the board and the community went through it, changed what they could, what they were allowed to, cleaned it up a little bit, and then we had to put it to hearing where no one showed. We put it on the agenda. Town board showed, fire chief, the constable, 2 residents showed. We put it on the town board again on the agenda as we needed to. The fire chief, constable, town board, 1 person showed up. Came to vote. It was amended. It was approved. Sent to the county, registered. Duly registered. So that is when it was adopted in 2016.
What do we have to do to have it be reevaluated?
Excuse me?
What would need to happen for it to be reevaluated again?
A ton of time, regulations, state statutes, and there is a whole procedure where we would have to resubmit everything and go through. But the thing is, you can't change anything that's on the table. You can't change it because it's set up with this zoning.
She's thinking more
For the future, I understand. Yes. All right, so one more question, Mr. Fox.
So, when this advisory committee comes together and they come up with their recommendations for you, the board, what are you guys basing that, whether you're going to say yes or no to? What are some parameters and guidelines that this committee can work towards to know what you guys are going to base your decision on, whether you're going to accept what they present to you or not?
We have to follow our bylaws and we have to follow these zoning regulations. That's what the board has to follow. We're bound by these.
I guess my concern is, and I'll just be flat out honest, I've heard 3 board members tonight tell everybody in this room tonight that we need to keep an open mind. And it really seems like it's you guys against us. And we have to convince you why this is a bad idea. And the ordinances that we pass, or the zoning laws that we want to adopt and pass, we have to convince you on why this is a bad idea. And
You have to have the thoughts of why you don't want this to happen in your mind.
Right, but
You need to go over to the pit, you need to take a look, then reevaluate what you're thinking, and then see whether or not you have a change in your mind. And then what you want to see change, put it as a condition that you would like to see in a conditional use. That's what this is all about.
right, so
There's nothing we can do in changing.
So when we come to you and say that we want hours of operation to be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I'm just throwing numbers out there. Are you going to accept that? Is that going to be reasonable to you?
Well,
Who says they'll accept that?
They won't accept that.
They won't accept that.
No, but what they plan on doing is using 3 trucks.
No, they don't. I got that cleared last time over here.
They might be using.
But that's what I'm saying.
Order.
What are you guys going to accept? I want to know some guidelines and some parameters that I can give to this committee and help them out to essentially convince you guys, to be honest.
Reasonable and practical.
What
Think about it in your own
Like
terms.
I'm going to say this, and then I will adjourn the meeting. What they submitted, their conditional use permit, request, application, is their wish list. This is their wish list. In their best case scenario, if they were to open tomorrow, this is what they would do. Thanks to our zoning and the conditional use process, we have the opportunity to tweak this, change it, make it so that it's feasible for the town or for that entity or both. This is their wish list. This is what we have to follow. We need to meet in between, figure out how it's going to happen or not.
or not? Or not?
How it's going to happen.
How it's gonna happen.
Or not, yeah.
Or not.
They may not develop this for us in the long run. We have to work with them. This is gonna happen, whether you realize
So
it or
you're
not.
just saying, you're saying it's just gonna happen?
It's gonna happen. They went through all the procedures they needed to go through, all the permits, through the DNR, through the state, everything they need to do operation. They could go in there and do it if they wanted to, and we have nothing we can do about it. As long as they are living within the conditions and working by the conditions preset by the zoning from the county and the state. There's nothing we can do. They're willing to work with us and find a happy medium. And that's why you guys need to keep an open mind. Find out what conditions you want to live with.
No happy medium.
You don't have an open mind when you say that.
Well, when you live within a mile of it, you don't have an open mind.
Yes, Jeff.
I believe, when I looked at the website last time, I know our zoning is on it.
Yes.
I believe there's a copy of their proposal on it.
Yes, there is.
I guess to keep the open mind would be to read both and prefer, you don't have to read the whole thing, but what Pete pointed out and what's in our zoning and work it from there. And take the tour and work it from there. The yes or no, the black or white, eventually it's gonna become gray. That's the best you can do for it, is keep the open mind, take the two, throw in what you want, and give that to the ad hoc committee, and let them form their own application per se, using our zoning and their wish list and your wish list, and come up with a proposal.
Proposal, co-proposal, re-proposal, re-proposal. That's
Can I just ask one question?
yes.
So this frac mining are they governed by any jurisdiction of Grace Lutheran Church? Here's Nasonville Dairy, here's Nasonville School, and the school forest. Amber, this life flew through whoever from Marshfield. Does she realize that those kids are bused to school forest, come on Highway 10 usually, or on Highway N, and they're at school forest? I don't understand how a frac mine can be so close to these things that are so important for our living, and have this mine be functional when we know 4 to 10 years down the road that it may not be.
Manure gas,
What?
ethanol, manure gas, ethanol, all closer to Nasonville School, Grace Lutheran Church.
Yeah.
You can make arguments all day long.
But I'm just asking, do they not have a regulation, closeness of?
EPA, that's all the air quality regulation, it's everything that they have to follow. That's, and
And
they
we know
have
how
to follow it and
we
monitor.
know how the wind blows through Lindsay.
Yes, Jim.
As a committee member, I'd like to know how the flow of information is going to be handled. Are citizens supposed to get a hold of the town board disseminate back to the committee? How is that going to work? Because I'm not sure whether everybody on the committee wants their emails to everybody.
All committee members have email, correct?
Yes, but as I was just saying, I'm not sure if everybody's comfortable providing all of that personal information to everybody in the community. I don't know if you want to be a conduit between everybody. I don't know. That's just a question.
I think you need to handle that on your end. The ad hoc committee needs to, I would disseminate all your numbers amongst people.
I have a hard time thinking that you're going to be a representative of this township on the advisory committee and not feel good enough to give them your email address.
I'm not speaking for the committee here, Pete. making a point that maybe everyone is not comfortable. They weren't elected, but they are appointed, and they offer an opportunity. So I think Harry mentioned a good thing. Perhaps we established a committee email that you can email to, and we can reference it. We can do, certainly provide our names who's on the committee. We can call us, whatever. I'm fine, I don't care personally.
It'll
but I'm not
be,
gonna
Greg
speak
is
for
our
everybody on the
website,
committee.
Greg's our website guru, names, and probably an email, a general email we'll have set up on the town website. Would that be sufficient?
Yeah, and that's my point. I just want to know that possibility.
Right. That way, everything is there, not just for the advisory committee, not just for zoning, not just for the board, for everybody, all residents, to look.
Yeah, that's the intent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point.
I'd just like to mention, I've heard rumors about people confronting people who are selling or have sold property to the frac mine, accusing them of maybe being sellouts. I think that needs to stop. I think we're all better than that. These people have already sold or are selling their property. Going and confronting these people for their actions, I don't think is a necessity. I think it's a violation of privacy.
I've heard that also.
So whether you like it or not, people shouldn't be doing that.
Right. Nobody will come and knock on your door if you decide to sell to Joe Blow. So, right. I'd like to thank everybody for tonight, coming here. Appreciate it very much. Like I stated, we'll get a email set up for the advisory committee. Their names will be posted. Probably not. We'll ask them if they want the phone numbers. But please, everyone, you signed in. You put your address on there. You signed in. You put your address.
There's no address.
No address. Okay. Right. But if you're, please give us a check mark if you would like to. We will set up a bus tour. No cost to the town. Next week. Tuesday, which...
Like, is that during the day?
No, it would be approximately 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. It's a 45-minute drive down there. So it wouldn't be during the day. We'll have the bus here. No cost to the town. Drive down, review the operation.
Will they serve drinks?
You said Tuesday
At the bar.
Tuesday at 5:30?
Interesting.
Which I have to confirm. I'll set 2 dates.
Put it on the website? Okay.
Yes, and we'll put it.
Can I just say too, my name is on the website, Liz Drexler. My number is on there. If anybody wants to call me at any time with concerns, please feel free. I'm on the volunteer park committee. It'll plug the government chili cook-off in February. So I welcome your comments and questions.
Correct. Pete, would it be possible for that bus trip for you to reach out to the town chairman and maybe a couple board members and other residents that live around that mine? Maybe have them meet us there so we could also talk with them.
Some residents around the mine?
And the town board.
You'll have the opportunity talking to the guy that has the campsite right on the right side.
The property owner adjacent.
Yeah, and tell you what, he can tell you what he thinks of it. He's already, they made beachfront property on part of the mine. He's already sold permit campsites on. He's that happy.
But we will try. Order.
You can't believe how quiet it is, Kate.
I will make a call to their chairman, and I will request that at least he and one other person be there. Absolutely. I will definitely request that. So, we'll set the bus trip for either next Tuesday or next Wednesday.
Do we need to have someone in the committee organize that as far as what day they want to go?
Right, I will personally call Cooley Frac and ask them which works best, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's it. Okay, and we'll set it from that day. I just wanted to know Tuesday, Wednesday, if that's all right with everyone.
Does that work for everyone?
Yes, I'm going to allow one more comment, Mr. Helgerson, then we will adjourn this meeting.
You were talking about visiting from operation? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I've been to two of them, and I can tell you this. They are quiet, they are dustless, and the most noise is made by the front-end loaders that load the trucks. And they make no more noise than these heavy-duty tractors make out in our fields around here. The one when it's set up down there behind the trees, there's gonna be a brim put up along the road. You won't even know it's there. When you get back 200 feet, you can't hear them. We're dealing with wet sand, not dusty sand. There may be dust off of the field, and they're scalping and scraping back and forth. But once the operation gets going, it's quiet, no dust. I was surprised. So anyway, it's not the one. Okay. Call, please.
Watch the website for meeting advisory committee. I'll give you the contact numbers. Get it set up next Tuesday, next year. I'd like to thank everyone. Meeting is adjourned.